professional work under my belt. I have starred in British feature films, and I've worked with some really great British talent and great British filmmakers, you know, and it's great when you've got the work and you've got a bit of a nice paycheck. Not always, sometimes just enough to get you by, but sometimes if you land a really nice job and you get some good money for it, you think yes, and then the work ends, the money runs out, you're back to auditioning. What do? You know, you've got to still pay your bills, you've still got to live and survive. And so for me, a great line of work which artists can relate to is hospitality, you know?
What's up, guys? I hope you're all well. So today, you can see Seff's not with me, and welcome back to another episode of Podghost. Today, I'm with someone that I've been trying to get onto the show for quite a while. Big fan of his work. Without further ado, I'd like to bring onto the show Saunderson, my brother. If I can reach you, welcome to the show, my guy. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm more happy now that I've seen you.
Good. Yeah.
And you know what, my brother?
And I'm not crying.
I'm going to go into all of that with you because,
of course,
for those people that have seen you,
yeah,
you know, they've probably seen you in the acting mode and content creating and stuff like that. I want to start off with your early years, Lewis, because I think it's very important for people to know not exactly where you live, but what sort of environment were you brought up in? You know, what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, I'll try and, because I can talk, so I'll try and keep things a bit more clipped. And, you know, I think for me as well, just off the point, but on the point, is that, you know, doing a few of these podcasts now, sort of remembering what I've discussed in previous podcasts, but trying to give some new information as well.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Because if, like, for the real loyal fans of yourself and of me, and fans of mine, they sort of probably want some fresh information. Yeah. So, but I, you know, was always a very sort of overly energetic and enthusiastic child, and like most children, I guess, I couldn't really sit still. I couldn't really focus on anything for more than a couple of seconds, and so therefore when I went to school, this was a problem for the teachers, because I essentially was the class clown, and a massive distraction for the teachers. But I was always a good kid in terms of, I was always against, you know, bullies, for example. I was raised that way. You know, so even if I was a bit of a troublemaker, I wasn't trying to, you know, be a part of the popular gang that was taking sort of advantage of the sort of more weak and vulnerable kids.
Yep.
I was kind of just mixed in with everybody, basically. Yeah. But what happened was there were a few things that I knew that I enjoyed in secondary school, I'm talking about, which was art, English, and drama. To be honest with you, I think I was always a natural performer. But I didn't really think about it at the age of 11 that, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah. And then for sort of the first few years in secondary school, I was just all over the place. And I could get quite lippy and jippy with the teachers, and I had a bit of a temper. And so, you know, if the teachers were trying to manage my, you know, behavioural problems, I would kind of, you know, maybe throw a table or a chair or whatever, not at the teacher, but just, you know, just to prove my point and to get a laugh from the room, you know. And then you know, there was a few occasions where I was, you know, removed from class or put into detention, or what's the one when you come to school for like a week but you're never in class, you're like sitting outside the headmaster's office for the whole week or whatever doing your work, you know. And they were constantly calling my parents in saying, you know, he's on his final warning. If this carries on, we are going to have to remove him from this school. And then it was like, do you know what? I really need to buck my ideas up here, and I need to think like carefully about the choices that I'm making, because actually, you know, there are probably things that I'm good at, and unfortunately, back then, I think, today, and I'm not saying I'm undiagnosed, ADHD or, anything like that, but I think, when there is sort of misbehaving in classrooms, certainly back then, we're the same age, so when you were at secondary school, long time ago now, 20 years or whatever, teachers had no patience.
Of course.
Whereas now, certainly if people have got, they're diagnosed with autism or ADHD or whatever, there's more...
awareness.
There's more awareness, and there's a different approach maybe that the teachers will take. But for me, I think it was just crazy energy, and I had nowhere to channel it, and if I couldn't do something like maths, for example, I just got stuck and confused, I would just kind of lash out, basically. And then it kind of got to around year 10 in secondary school, and I really started to enjoy drama. And it was around the time that we were having to think about what GCSEs we wanted to take. Yep. And I initially said I want to take art and X, Y, and Z. And the art teacher said, look, the other teacher, your drama teacher, is speaking very highly of you in the staff room at lunchtime and breaks and whatever, about how much potential you have as an actor, and you can't do art and drama, and you have to pick one or the other, and I think it's going to create a bit of a war if you come into art and you don't pick drama. And we had this drama class one time where we were split into groups, and we had to just essentially make up a bit of a scenario, and I really took the lead and really took charge of my group, and we ended up doing like a dramatic scenario around drug addiction, I think it was, and then somebody OD'd and died, and I ended up, I think, playing a character, if I can remember correctly, who was somebody that was having to witness this friend of mine die on drugs, and then I kind of gave this big, dramatic, emotional performance, and this was still during rehearsal time in the classroom, and so we were running through it, we were playing it out, and I gave it 110%, fully committed, and once I'd finished doing my kind of emotional bit, there was just silence in the room. And it stopped everybody in their track, including the drama teacher, and everyone was just kind of looking at me, and then everyone started clapping. And in that moment, I thought, oh, I like this. I like that response. I like the feeling that it's given me. And actually, I was quite good at that. So really, honestly, from that moment onwards, I bucked my ideas up, and it was from like one extreme to the other. I became super
confident.
Like I just became super focused, super disciplined, and I just started paying attention in my lessons. I was turning up to school every day. I started removing myself from the people that I knew were bad influences on me, or that encouraged me to be that class clown. I changed my circle of friends, and I made it all the way through to the end of my GCSEs. I did okay in my GCSEs, but I got an A star in drama.
Surprise.
And I done well in English as well. I was always interested in writing stories. From literally that point onwards, I then stayed on at that secondary school. I can't quite remember how you phrase what they were back then, because it's all different now. But it was like a well, I think it was an A-level. It was an A-level. It was an A-level in drama. Because I did also a GMVQ in business studies on the side. Gotcha. Because I wasn't allowed to just do it. I had to do something else
on the side,
So I was like, business studies.
Everyone chooses business.
Although that helped me later on in life. But back then, I had no interest. I just wanted to do drama. I did a year there. Then that led me on to my 2-year college course in the city of Peterborough, where I live. and I did a 2-year BTEC National Diploma in Drama, just trying to remember the names of the courses, and still stayed completely focused. Then I took a gap year and worked for the local theatre, the Key Theatre in Peterborough, and I essentially landed myself a contract of in-house productions throughout my gap year. So we did Shakespeare, we did musicals, whatever. And then also we had, at the time, the local theatre had a touring theatre company called TIE, which is Theatre and Education. And we would basically go out, land contracts with the schools through the city council, and we would go out and we'd do educational pieces in front of secondary schools and assemblies and things. So again, drama, but we're doing educational sort of subjects in a kind of real upbeat, fun, physical way.
Yep.
Did that for my gap year, and then that took me on to a 1-year foundation course at a London drama school, East London, East 15, which is Debden. And then at the end of that 1-year foundation course, I landed the 3-year BA honours degree at the same drama school. So essentially I did 4 years there. And then I graduated 2008. So really from that moment of that drama class...
That one moment,
it literally changed everything for me. And from that moment, that's when I decided that I wanted to be an actor. And then, I'd graduated, 17 years ago now, I think it is.
Wow.
Or 2008, however long ago that was. I've not just been acting, obviously, since graduating from drama school. I've done many different jobs to survive. But here we are today, and, because of, social media and, my content, over the last couple of years, I've now been able to leave what was my last full-time job at the beginning of this year, go self-employed, and now this has become my full-time job as a full-time content creator.
Congratulations.
And so here we are today.
You know what? You absolutely nailed it.
Bit of a long-winded one, I know, but
I love it.
when you've got over 20 years to quickly
go through it quickly.
It's not like I just left school 2 years ago, you know what I mean?
I want to ask you, obviously, you said you point out at that one moment, and everyone who generally becomes successful in social media always has that one moment where they look back and think, you know what, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even be here today.
Yeah.
God knows what you'd be doing. We can't just sit here and say you'd definitely be doing that.
Yeah.
I want to speak about social media because, again, like we spoke off camera earlier, social media has become such an important part of your life now.
Yeah.
When did you really feel like I actually want to become a full-time creator? Because like you said, you're trying to survive on one hand, and on the other, you're creating this content that's getting a lot of interaction and a lot of love and a lot of followers. And when did you feel like, you know what, I want to quit this? I want to get into content creating. When was that moment for you where you felt like now is the time to leave?
Well, I mean, so just going back a little bit, up at the beginning of, because when I say, I had to do lots of other jobs, since leaving drama school, people that really do sort of follow me and who have dug in deep into me online, into my past, whatever, things that are out there for them to view online, my IMDb, Internet Movie Database, etc. People know that I have professional work under my belt. I have starred in, British feature films. I have, films that you can rent and buy on Amazon or buy online or whatever, and I've worked with some really great British talent and great British filmmakers. But again, that was when, I'd left drama school. I'm a professional actor. I've got an agent. I'm doing the audition circuit. You go for 100 auditions and you might get 3 of them, and it's great when you've got the work and you've got a bit of a nice paycheck. Not always, sometimes just enough to get you by, but sometimes if you land a really nice job, and you get some good money for it, you think yes, and then, the work ends, the money runs out, you're back to auditioning. What do? you've got to still pay your bills, you've still got to live and survive. And so for me, a great line of work, which I think a lot of actors and dancers and singers and artists can relate to, is hospitality, you know? So over the last kind of 20 years or so, even like before drama school, during drama school, because I worked behind the student bar at drama school for the 4 years that I trained there, because I went up to the lady on day one and said, you know, my name's Lewis, I'm here for a year, but I hope to be here for 4, because I want to do the BA Honours degree course. I've already got lots of bar and restaurant experience. Please give me a job, I won't let you down. I need the extra money. And she, you know, gave me a chance, and I worked behind that student bar for 4 years. And then during like the breaks, you know, summer, Christmas, whatever, I'd go home, and then I'd have bar jobs and restaurant jobs at home. And then even leaving drama school, I only stayed living in London for a couple more years until the cost of it all started to swallow me up. So I moved back home to Peterborough, and then whenever I was still going out to audition, I'd just be training into London or whatever cities.
Yeah, of course.
Because I knew I had kind of family there, and I had kind of work there if I needed. And that hospitality really helped me keep my head above water all the way through up until lockdown. And then lockdown happened, and obviously hospitality was one of the officially first things to have to shut down. I was like, damn it, you know what? And at this point, you know, I wasn't. I mean, we're talking how many years ago? It was the beginning of lockdown.
4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So even then, I was really a nobody online with social media, and I was panicking, thinking, well, you know, and actually I couldn't even qualify for furlough because I'd just started a new hospitality job and was getting paid cash in hand whilst the owners were on holiday, waiting for them to come back to put me on the system. So when we got shut down, when everything got shut down, I didn't even qualify for furlough. So I was thinking, I literally don't have no income. And I thought, I've got no, and obviously so did so many other people around the world.
Of course.
But you know, my position was I had always, since the age of 16, even before the age of 16, I was working for family, you know, on building sites, handing them buckets full of cement and whatever. Do you know what I mean? I was a grafter.
You've always been working, yeah.
Always been working, but I was just like, I do not, you know, I'm a man, I am an adult, and I have no money. You know, and when I've spent this money, what am I doing? So I jumped in to support working for. Obviously, initially I had to do a lot of paperwork and some online training, because obviously at this point they wasn't doing in-house training because of COVID, because of lockdown, and I got involved with a company that basically put you in different homes in your kind of local area. You know, people with boys' homes, girls' homes, mixed boys and girls' homes, you know, learning disabilities, autism, challenging behaviour, all of that kind of stuff. And then I was doing that for a few months, so I got into that quite quickly at the beginning of lockdown, thankfully, because I thought I would be good at that. And I then got the recruitment department within the company that I was working for said, look, there's this position going, it's right near your house as a full-time support worker. It's a boys' home. They're children and teenagers. You know, they've got autism, they've got challenging behaviour, learning disabilities. It was exactly the thing that I was looking for. The money was good, the hours were long, the job was hard. It's not for everyone, but it was work as well, you know. And it was something that I felt that A, I would be good at, and B, would give me, you know, financial security until the world opened up again, you know. And which would then obviously give me more opportunities, more options for other things. And then so I did that all the way through till, so I got the job at this home near my house, and I worked for them basically all the way up until the end of last year, December, the very end of December of 2023. And I did, through the company, I did a level 3 diploma, and I worked my way up as a deputy manager. And so that basically became my life for the last 4 years. But the hours were hard. They're like 24 hours away from home. Sometimes you're doing 3-4 of those shifts a week. Then obviously they always want you for overtime if you can do it. And I was just literally mentally, and you know, the kind of job which you're doing in that setting can be tough. The things that you're witnessing, the things that you're having to go through emotionally, physically. You know, you might be getting spat at or hit or whatever. And then you're going home back to your life the next morning, and you might then be dealing with your own challenging behaviour, you know, within your own family, you know, with children or, you know, climbing the walls or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like, where have you got, like, where is the time to switch off, to take a beat, to have a moment? And obviously, in the end, that begun to have a real negative impact on my mental health. And so to answer your question, so because about a year ago, things started going really well for me on social media, and I started getting a lot of viral hits, and I was able to start making money from TikTok. So then, like, up in, like, last year, from, like, last summer of 2023 up until the end of last year, I was starting to make some really good money on TikTok, and I was making really good money in my job, as a support worker.
Of course.
But so you know my type of content.
Yep.
So I was doing this, like, I'd be going into work, doing 24-hour shifts. You know, we've got kids that are kicking off or breaking things or smashing up the house or running off, and we're getting the police called out to help look for them. And then, you know, I'm coming home and I'm dealing with own family members, i.e., you know, helping with some of the children that I help raise within my own family, which obviously, as you know, as a parent, just is, it takes...
It's not easy, mate.
It's not easy, and it takes all your energy. And then and then around that, the very, very little time that I had, I was creating this really emotional content. So it kind of... So a couple of months before the end of last year, I was basically getting paid, and I never liked talking about money in a braggy way.
No, of course.
Ever liked talking about money in a braggy way. But I was I'd get to the end of the month and I'd be like, I have nothing left. I am mentally, emotionally, physically done, dead, wiped out. And, you know, then you paid your full-time wage, and they take all the tax and whatever else, and you're like, okay, it's still a decent wage. But then I'd get paid from TikTok, and I'd be like, that's like 2, maybe 3 times more money than what this wage pack is. And that was fucking hard to get that wage
Of
pack.
course.
24-hour shifts, you know, 50 hours a week, whatever. And I looked like a dead man at the end of the month. And then I started thinking, this, you know, obviously you've got to be clever. So I was thinking, it might be a one-off. And then the next month came, and I was like, oh, another really nice wage. And then the next month came, and I was like, Jesus Christ, is that real? Is that money all mine? Like, what the fuck? And then I started thinking, hang on a minute. Like, I don't like sounding arrogant.
No, you're speaking facts,
I was like, I'm killing it with my content and my views, and like, I'm making really decent money. And I was thinking, well, if I stop working in this job, my mental health's going to be better. I'm going to have a lot more focus and energy. I'm going to have a lot more time and be a lot more available and present for my family that need me. And I'm going to be okay with this money. But actually, that's going to allow me so much more time to create regular content that hopefully is just going to give me more money consistently every month, i.e., I should just become a full-time content creator. And that's basically how I made the decision.
Amazing.
And then I've been doing that since January the 1st of this year, and we're however many months into the year.
And you're still going strong.
And still going strong.
May it continue, man.
It was the best decision I made for myself at that time. And I know that I can always go back to that job.
Of course you can.
If this all ends tomorrow, if I wake up in the morning, I've been cancelled, if TikTok decides to go away, or if people stop watching my content, or if the views drop, or if the money goes down, and I get to a point where I'm like, oh shit, like I'm running out of ideas, I'm running out of money, I'm running out of steam and creativity.
Yeah, of course.
Then I can just pick up a phone and say, look, you know,
we'll get back into it.
I'm a qualified deputy support worker. there's so many other jobs, companies in that line of work that are screaming out for people. So that I'm glad I did that, and God was that an experience. But I know that that's a great fallback plan, because social media, you know, I've got a social media management, and I talk to them about this, and you know, yes, I'm a passionate, creative person, and you know, but do I want to be playing out these dramatic scenarios for the next 20, 30, 40 years? Do I want to be going through that heightened level of emotion for the next 20, 30, 40 years? Not really, because eventually it's, you know, it's also about making sure that I don't overdo it, where it becomes like a job. It feels like a job.
Of course, I understand that fully.
But at the moment, I've still got the passion. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. You know, things are going well. But there are some times when I'm like, you know, I don't want to film anything today. I don't want to cry today. I don't want to get myself all hyped up and, you know, lose a loved one in a video, whatever. Even if this part of my brain's going, but, you know, you need to put out a video this week because you've not put out a video this week. Do you know what I mean? You need to put out regular content, you know? So it's, you from time to time when you're tired.
Of course,
you have these little battles with your brain.
Of course you do, yeah.
But then eventually you go, oh, fuck it, I'll put out a video because actually that's my job.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
That is my job now, because you've got to be so self-disciplined when you're self-employed, because I'm my own boss.
Of course you are, yeah.
If I want to wake up in the morning and turn my
do star jumps
and do star jumps and turn my alarm clock off,
yeah.
you know, do you know what? I'll get up in a couple of hours. You know, in those couple of hours, I could have created a video that potentially could go on to go viral.
Absolutely.
And make me money. So, you know, that was the scary thing about becoming self-employed, was that, you know, I'm not a lazy person anyway. I never have been. But you don't want that laziness to creep in where you're like, this week, do you know what? I'm just going to have a week with the family and then go out, meet friends, go to the pub, whatever, have a few drinks.
Yeah.
And then the week's over and you think, shit, I didn't create a single video this week. So I very much try and put out at least 2 videos every week.
But that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, yeah.
Because I think a lot of people...
it's a lot of crying.
Yeah, I'm going to go into all your crying, but I want to stick to the whole fact that for people who watch your content, and for people who don't understand it, I clearly understand what goes behind it. Yeah. But with your content, away from the emotional side and the high level of acting that you need to do, you can't just do that if you're not in a mood to do it. Like you just said earlier. Yeah. Tell us the flaws of, you know, being a content creator, because I think a lot of people, when you watch it, they always think, you know what, I want to do that. Yeah. Because it looks like he's having fun. He's getting called to podcasts. Yeah. He's making money now. Yeah. He's, you know, always happy now. You can see when someone's doing well, you can see that in their vibe. Like you said about your job, you were clearly not mentally, not that you didn't appreciate your job, but you were clearly, it was taking its toll on you. Yeah. But what do you say to people that want to go into creating content? What are the things they should look out for that they might not know until they get into it?
Well, I think, you know, let's just make one thing very, very, very clear, that, you know, you speak very kindly of my content, and I obviously, you know, really appreciate that. And obviously I always appreciate that when anybody speaks nicely of my content online, or if people come up to me on the street and
just like half an hour ago outside,
and they want a photo and I love your content, mate. You know, that's great. I love that. I also am a realist and am fully aware that, of course, I'm in a very specific lane with the style of content that I'm producing and putting out there. And obviously, like the video that I sent you yesterday, I don't know if you got around to watching it,
I did,
but when you clip a lot of my clips together, of course it's got the spitting and the snotting and the screaming and the crying, and it's kind of... It's a lot, and it's kind of it feels like it's always that within each story. But that is because that is what my real loyal fan base have come to really
know me
for and get a kick out of and want more of, you know. And there have been so many times when I've put out videos that are a bit more subtle, and they maybe not so much crying or snotting or spitting or screaming, and they literally are telling me like, we want more tears, we want more spit. So I've become almost like a bit of a cartoon of myself within the content world, because bigger is better, and bigger isn't always better, but for my fans, bigger is better. And essentially I'm serving my fans. Of course, there are so many people that hate what I do, that don't understand what I do, that leave really nasty comments on every single one of my videos, or actually go out of their way to privately DM me with their thoughts, calling me sick and telling me that I need help, and that, stop killing your children, you fucking weirdo, or you're sick in the head, like, because they're not really
understanding your perspective.
The fact is, I'm a normal guy in real life. I'm just doing very dramatic, powerful storytelling. And
of course.
And it is all very, but it is not who I am in real life. It doesn't make me a bad person or a sicko. I think because obviously I'm putting out so much content of this kind all the time, and because my videos are going viral, and because the algorithm on both TikTok and Instagram are supporting my content, people that aren't even interested in my content, they see it.
Yeah.
And when they keep seeing it, they're like, who is this guy? Keeps popping up on my phone every time I open it, screaming and crying, like, fuck off.
But do you ever understand their perspective?
Of course. And, at the end of the day, there are times from time to time where I'll comment on a very popular video on Instagram where I just have to pin it, and sort of it just explains,
of course,
I trained at a drama school. Yes, there is more to acting than screaming and crying. I did train at a drama school. I do know that, but I'm not doing comedy. I'm not doing Shakespeare. I'm doing the nitty gritty, pain, agony. That is what I'm doing, because that's what works for me. That's what has got me to where I am today, in terms of allowing me to make a good living off that type of content. If I started doing little romantic scenes or whatever, the views aren't going to be there. The algorithm's not going to support it, and my real fans are going to be like, this isn't the Lewis that we love. So unfortunately, it's not for everyone. I get that. But
nothing is for everyone.
And if people want to, voice their opinions and tell me, I don't like this, or whatever, then you're entitled to your opinion. But when sometimes I've had some real aggressive messages in the last year or two.
I can just about imagine, mate.
You know what I mean? Like, if I see you on the street, what I'm going to do to you, I'll give you something to cry about, you this, you that. And I'm just like, honest to God, what's wrong with people? So, again, to answer your question, what I would say to anybody thinking about going into the line of social media content creation full time, where they're putting their own face out there, just be careful and understand that social media is can be a very nasty place, because everyone's sitting behind a picture on their account that possibly isn't even them. We call, obviously, internet trolls, and keyboard warriors and all of those things, and people can say whatever they want to say, but thankfully I'm blessed that I have tough skin, and that even when I read the most hurtful stuff, I can take it with a pinch of salt, and because I'm aware that, of course, I cannot expect to put out videos for them to go viral and be seen by millions of people, and for every single comment to be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Of course.
You're the best, you're the greatest.
Of course, yep.
Of course that's not going to happen. For me, obviously, because of the kind of person I am, there are loads of things that I see on socials that trigger me, or that I don't like, or frustrate me, or make me feel angry or whatever. But I don't go out of my way to voice all of that aggression. I just either block the account if I keep seeing stuff from a certain account that isn't for me, or I just scroll on by, But I think people just forget or just don't care how damaging it can be to certain people, you know, because, you know, what's her name, who helped host with Ollie Murs the Extra Factor, who took her life a few years ago, or more than a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember exactly who she is.
And then, you know, everyone was jumping online saying, you know, we need to be, the hashtag be kind, you know, we have to be more kind to people online.
Yeah.
Everyone has their thoughts because, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn to somebody whose family is still probably grieving, or most certainly grieving from that time. But, you know, I think there was an altercation between her and her partner, and, you know, the way the kind of the media and the press kind of put it out there was that she was like beating on him, and they probably just had a normal little disagreement, like most couples will, but because she was a somebody and a name and a face, it all got blown out of proportion, and the narrative was what the media wanted it to be, and then all of the trolls started jumping on, going, yeah, well, she deserves to die, this, that, the other, and she was obviously reading a lot of those things, and she didn't have the tough skin for it. And I'm not saying that's the only reason she...
Of course, no, I know exactly where you're coming from, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like...
It's sad, isn't it?
Be careful what you're saying about people, to people, on their content, because for some people, it can just be one comment.
Yeah.
Where they go, do you know what? And they go to bed that night and maybe have a handful of pills because they can't cope with it. So I would say if you're not ready for the hate... then it's probably not the best line of work for you to get into if you were to become really successful at it. Absolutely. If you are the one that's putting your face in front of all of the content. Absolutely.
The reason why I asked you that question was because just like now, for an example, you go out, people are stopping you for photos, pictures. For an onlooker, that feels like, you know what? He's got everything. Everyone loves him. He looks good. He sounds great. His content's amazing. He's making money. It's easy. What? A few people are going to come and call you a prick, or, you know, you idiot. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But in reality, that's just literally, I always tell people that want to go into social media, that's a percentage of what you don't see. Yeah. Because there's so much that you probably read. And I'm sure at sometimes, Lewis, for you to read it, you're like, what an idiot. Yeah. Like, it does still affect you, even though it might not affect your day. Yeah. But at the time, you're like, you prick. Like, how can you write that? You know, to have a go at me. Yeah. So that's why I asked you that question about social media. Yeah. And sticking to the hate and mental health. Yeah. Mental health is something that me and my partner, we do cover a lot on this show. Yeah. The cause of mental health on social media nowadays is so much more than I believe it's ever been. Yeah. Lifestyle, money, you know, like we spoke about. What people take social media for now is something that's never been there before. For yourself, how did it affect you? Like you said earlier, you suffered from mental health. For people that are watching and, you know, want to learn from this podcast and say, you know, not to fall in these sort of traps, what would your advice be to them?
In terms of advice to do with
mental health itself, what to keep, you know, to keep yourself...
If they're wanting to go into content creation.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's...
Because hate's one thing, but mental health and that sort of stuff is a complete different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's like so much I want to say, but so... do you know what I mean?
It's a bit hard for it to get...
Because my brain's just full of so much stuff that I want to say. But I think that, you know, again, you've got a... life is hard right now. You know, life is hard right now. You know, I don't really want to be political because I am not really political, but obviously I've got my own.
We have to be a little bit now. We're involved in it.
But, you know, and I've been having this conversation with my dad a lot recently, and I will get to answering your question, but this kind of leads into it. But, you know, I've always been so proud. I say I don't want to be political. I also don't want to get cancelled. I've always been so.
You won't get cancelled. Don't worry.
No. I've always been. I've always been so proud all my life to be British. You know, and not overly patriotic, you know, hanging a flag outside my window. Like, I'm born and bred Britain, you know.
Yeah.
But just, you know, I've always loved, you know, whenever I go abroad, I love going abroad, you know, for my yearly holiday, whatever. And I always have the best time because that's where I really feel like I can switch off.
Yeah, of course.
From everything.
But no, you probably make a little video here.
I do, usually. There's usually one that I do.
I told you.
But obviously that's only started happening in the past kind of year or so. But I've got a funny story about that. I'll tell you later. But you know, those last couple of days, of course, it's like, especially when, you know, I would have to know that once I get back in England, it's back to those 24-hour shifts, whatever. You know, those last couple of days abroad, you're like, oh my God, like this is coming to an end, it's back to reality. Whereas now, actually, when I come back, when the holiday is ending, I'm like, but when I get home, I'll need a day or two to readjust, but actually I get to make more content and I love making content, so you know I'm all good. But or sometimes, you know, this is the this is the workaholic in me. Sometimes I'll be like, I just need to get back home so I can start making some more content. Do you know what I mean? Like, and my friends are like, Lewis, you're on a beach,
chill out
with a palm tree, like just relax. I'm like, I know, but I just feel like I should be making content right now. But I. You know, there's always, just over the years, there's always those last couple of days, and you just start to miss hearing your language around you, all around you, and you'd think, oh, you know, I kind of don't want to go home, but I'm sort of looking forward to land back in Britain and to kind of just get back home. And I just, the country is just falling to shit right now. You know,
absolutely.
Anybody watching this podcast,
they're all going to understand, and it's true.
That has an idea, because it's all over social media and it's all over the mainstream media, and it's not all over the mainstream media as well. It's what the media chooses to show and tell. But just with everything, you know, just with everything, and NHS and you know, cost of living, and
it's just inflation in general, isn't it?
And just everything, and what is going on in this country at the moment, and everything you hear every day when you tune into the news, you know, and the stabbings and just everything. And it's just, you know, and obviously all of the stuff to do with people coming into our country and things like, you know, illegally, and just, you know, what happened, you know, a little while ago with the young lad right at the beginning of the summer holidays, you know, with that whole thing going into the Taylor Swift themed workshop. You know, I used to be a freelance drama teacher, you know, for many years, again, since leaving drama school, around my hospitality and around the auditioning. I used to work for my local performing arts sort of weekend schools, where I'd be the drama teacher, you know, and I'd be doing those kind of themed workshops and things, you know, and it just doesn't, when that happened, and then what that caused with the rioting afterwards, and just everything in this country in a minute scares the shit out of me for bringing children up in this country. And obviously, loads of parts of the world right now are going through their stuff. That's and for some of those places, it's a lot more worse than England. But so for me, if I didn't have, I've kind of went off the subject a little bit here. But
it's all right.
If I didn't have the commitment that I have in my life right now with my two nephews, I make all my money on my phone. You know, and obviously from time to time, you've seen a lot of my content. Certain times that I do need certain locations, or I do need certain costumes or certain backdrops, and I do have my own, you know, equipment that I use for certain videos that I shoot. But also a lot of videos, all I need is a couple of little lights, myself, and a phone. And I just think, like, I'm in a position right now financially, if I wanted to and had no tied down commitments, to leave England and to go and travel the world for a year, or move out to Thailand or whatever, you know, and just feel at peace with where I am and make my content still and whatever. But, you know, obviously it's the ones we love that keep us where we need to be, because we're trying to do right by them and help and support and guide, and yeah, it just worries me with the direction that this country's going in at the moment, what the future holds for us, for our children.
Scary, isn't it?
Scary. So anyway, so mental health, obviously, if you're somebody that struggles with your mental health, and maybe you're medicated for it, maybe you're not. Again, probably, it's not to say if you struggle with your mental health, you shouldn't be a content creator.
Of course not.
Just something to be wary of is protect yourself, What I do is I spoke to you a little bit about, reading some of the love, reading the hate. But I genuinely, on my life, and also because, again, without sounding braggy, there are certain videos that get thousands of comments, and I'm putting out regular content. And, if I was to make a point about every time I post a video, a week later going back onto that video and reading every single comment, it's just not healthy.
No.
Even if there's a lot of love there and a lot of positive and a lot of good, it's just not healthy.
You wouldn't find the time to read all that, would you?
Exactly. It becomes like a full-time job itself, and it's just not healthy, because what you're looking for is you're trying to seek out the validation, and then you're going to get triggered by the negative. And it's just not good for your mental health.
Absolutely.
So I kind of I put it out and I give it over to the people.
And let it be.
But what I do from time to time, if it's a video I'm really I'm really proud of this video, I hope it does well.
Yeah.
I hope it resonates with people. I'll maybe after a day, I'll just check the first few comments to see what the general...
Public, of course.
What the general flavour and vibe is for that video, And I think, oh yeah, they're liking it, that's cool, yeah, I can leave that now. But I genuinely don't. And, DMs, because I am very OCD. And so I hate clutter. And so when there's just all of these unopened messages and things in my DM, it just drives my brain crazy. So I do like to go through stuff and organise stuff and delete stuff and whatever. So sometimes but also I have to be very vigilant with checking the DMs, because sometimes I get some, like
spam.
Yourself. Well, no, but like yourself, I get some opportunities coming through.
Of course. Yeah.
I've been watching
you. You can't ignore it all, can you? Exactly.
Like, you fancy coming on my podcast?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I weren't checking my DMs, I wouldn't be sitting here right now unless you found another way of getting hold of me.
Yeah.
So, and I have had other work opportunities and promos and things that have ended up being legit after myself doing my research.
Absolutely.
That has come through DMs, same with TikTok DMs. But a lot of the time, usually the DMs are actually the fans that love what you do,
Absolutely.
And from time to time you get a...
Well, that's exactly what I did when I came across your amazing content, because at the time it really, I was going through all of it, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna, DM you, see, if we can get you on, and we're here now. So you're absolutely right.
I think as well, I trying to just talk a little bit more about the mental health thing. I think as well, everyone has their own, what they call their own therapy.
Yep.
I don't go to therapy. I'm not against therapy. I'm also very open to the idea of going to therapy. I think it's really good to talk
it's quite
to
useful,
somebody who does not know you, who cannot make judgments on
who you are
based on your circle of friends and your family and everything, and who are there to literally listen and help you unpack stuff and make sense of things and put things into a clearer perspective, where you kind of go, I think you're absolutely right. I think you've hit the nail on the head, but I don't do that. But my therapy, I say this all the time on podcasts or whatever, is, a nice hot bath with some Radox, a glass of red wine, a bit of Bob Marley, bit of sea salt, and some hot flannels on my head. And I just kind of, couple of hours, and I come out floating, and I'm like, right, I'm good. I've just, all my...
It's like a detox,
everything. I let it out. I let it out. Everyone has their own way of detoxing, relaxing, whatever. But and obviously exercise and running and going to the gym and or swimming or whatever your thing, whatever your thing may be. But where I think I've kept myself sane is through my dramatic acting. because as you know, people can take the piss out of my content and people can laugh at it and call it funny or not understand if it's supposed to be serious or supposed to be satire or whatever. But, when I'm crying, I'm crying. When I'm snotting, I'm snotting. When I'm screaming, I'm screaming. Yes, it's pretend because it's a played out scenario, but I'm really putting myself into those moments. I'm really committing fully emotionally and physically, and sometimes when I'm feeling like, it's just been a hard week or I'm pissed off today or whatever, and I do a video, I put all of that into that. And when I come out of that, I usually need a bit of time to just come out of it and have a shower and clean it all off, so to speak. But then I kind of feel like, do you know what? It's like if you're stressed and people just go into a bloody field and scream in the air. It'll help. Or fucking smash something. Do you know what I mean? It'll help. Get it out of your system. I get to get it out of my system every week.
Do you get tired from it?
So it really, without sounding wanky, my style of content has kind of been my kind of therapy. I think it's otherwise, so much shit would have built up and I probably would have just...
No, that makes sense.
I would have had a complete and utter breakdown in my life, certainly how I was feeling by the end of last year, I think if I'd continued in that job, but still putting out the regular content that I do now, I think I just would have completely had a breakdown, run myself into the ground, you know what I mean? So, so I don't really know if I've answered your question around other people and mental health and...
No, you clearly have. I got your gist on it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about your content before we wrap up, because your content is something that, again, like we spoke about, it's so different. I don't think anyone does it. Yeah, I've never seen anyone do what you do. Do you get tired after it? Because when you even when you're in the zone, it just looks so bloody original, man. Like honestly, I felt like it's actually happening to you, and then you start thinking. For me personally, I watch that and I feel like I can't let my son out of my sight now. Because of you, I'm extra cautious, right? And I'm sure a lot of people...
I don't know I go swimming anymore, Dad, because of Lewis Saunderson.
See, I'm like one of those ones now, especially a recent one in the park. And because I take my, I'm always taking my son out. Anyone that follows me knows I'm always on, in the park. And
so that's one of my nephews.
But that's,
it's my son in the story.
Yeah, of course. So for you, at the end of it, you must be exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is why some people...
Especially screaming.
And I'm very, again, I'm a realist and I'm an intelligent guy. I can completely understand why some people will be like, you're fucking nuts. Who are all these kids that you keep inheriting and killing off in your videos? And to keep putting you through that and them through that in such dark, disturbing scenarios, like, you must clearly be off your fucking trolley. Like, I get it. I get why some people would feel like that. But if you'd seen in that last one, for example, and I know that's not always the case in my content, because sometimes they are more involved with the actual dramatic stuff that's happening, the child or the children. But that moment, if you think about the shots of that little toddler, who's one of my nephews, he's only in a buggy, being handed a gingerbread man, being pushed to the park, then being pushed in the swing, then being put on a roundabout, and then he runs out the gate.
Yep.
And then obviously everything else after that is just me acting and reacting as if I'm seeing his body in that river. So he's completely unaware of any of that stuff that's happening.
Oh, no, that's
but
just
the
people
point
just...
is that, the shots I got of him, he's just having a great time with his uncle that's playing at the park.
Oh, yeah.
But when you cut it all together, some people just can't get their heads around the fact that it's just too fucking disturbing. But my point is that, the drama on TV, the ITV, the Channel 4, the BBC...
everything's drama, isn't it?
The Amazon Prime, the Netflix, whatever it is, streaming platform. When you're watching a drama or a nitty-gritty series or whatever, that's fine, because it's, there's other actors or known actors, and there's a script writer, and there's a cinematographer, and there's a director, and there's this, that, the other, and people can accept that people can play out such traumatic scenarios.
Absolutely.
But because I'm doing it on my phone, and it's constant because it's my style of content, some people just can't understand how can you call that acting, or how can you call that awareness? And again, another thing that I always have to mention is when I first started out doing well on TikTok, I was making awareness videos specifically for awareness purposes.
Yeah.
But obviously not every single one of my videos are awareness. Of course they're not. Like I joked about on another podcast that I did, which was that obviously where I'm freezing to death in space, you know, and I'm saying I've got my final transmission, I'm saying my final words to my loved one, you know, I'm freezing to death in space. You know, I'm not really trying to bring awareness to the fact that, guys, be careful, because any day now you might go to space and freeze. Like, I get it. It's just a fictionalized, dramatic idea for a piece of content, but the sadness comes from the fact that he's got to, you know, leave his last message to his loved ones. But if it's like in a paddling pool, never leave a child unattended in a paddling pool for ever, any seconds whatsoever, even if you keep peeping your head out the kitchen window and you can see them, you know, they only need this much water, it only takes a matter of seconds. I'm showing the worst case scenario. So people go, actually, fucking hell, I didn't realise they could just drown in that much water, or it only takes 10 seconds or whatever. And it's the same with the park one. It's that, you know, the mistake I made was I took that call. And I got distracted, and in that second, he ran off, and then it was too late, and he's found some water, and he's fallen in the river, and it's tragic.
But you know, that's the thing, like, look, everyone has a view on these things. Yeah. The way I look at your content, and this is me speaking, not knowing you.
Yeah.
Right? Hence why I've followed you before you were sitting here.
Yeah.
You know, it was actually content that got to me, because fine, it's done in a dramatic style, but that's getting my attention.
Yeah. See,
I understand what you're trying to put out there, but if someone doesn't like your content, I've always said, just don't watch it. Unfollow him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like so many people make content out there. I don't follow them.
Yeah.
I don't want to see rags and riches and, you know, people in private jets. It don't mean nothing to me, but good on them. Go and enjoy your life. But I feel like before you start spreading out hate and trying to get to someone, understand what they're doing. Yeah. Understand what their reasoning is. Yeah. And the fact you've got all that love and all them views and all that beautiful support you get, it shows you're doing something right. Yeah. But the haters will always be someone. If without them, to be honest, you wouldn't be where you are.
Well, exactly, and I always say that. I thank the haters as well, because, you know, firstly, I've always been a very competitive person, and it just makes me want to succeed even more when there's hate, you know.
Of course, 100%.
Like when people literally comment like, just stop doing this, or get a job, and I'm like, this is my job, or, you know, get a real job, but this job probably pays me more money than your real job.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but I don't care. I'm not having a go at you. But of course, you can have a go at me because I'm putting myself out there.
Who are you?
But
exactly.
Who are you to tell me to just stop doing this? Like, but you know, I do also thank, because of social media and algorithm and traffic and comments and people that love you and people that hate you, and then they get into their back and forths together in the comment section, and that just drives traffic and it pushes the algorithm and it just makes the video more popular.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
So
the more, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, you need a bit of that negative, you know. If everyone's just like great, love, then it kind of just stops there. But if people's like, oh, whatever, and then you've got a fan go, oh, leave him alone, and then, oh, you don't talk to me like this, It's like, you look and there's like 1,000 comments of just two people battling on your video. And all that's doing is just making more people.
It's building engagement.
More people. So, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, we're always going to have hate. We're always going to have haters, always. And it doesn't matter, you know, if you are literally putting out, you know, content that is completely harmless, couldn't possibly trigger or offend anybody, you know, just positive vibes, happy vibes, you know, people are still going to find something to hate about it.
Yeah, of course, that's part and parcel of it.
Yeah, and you can never design a video to go, I need to make this so everyone that watches it says good things about it.
Absolutely.
It's just never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
But Lewis, you know what? Thank you so much, for your time.
I know. I feel like I don't want to.
I swear to God, I'm exactly the same thing. But when you get towards the end, I'm like, we're having such a great conversation. But having said that, just before you leave, for people that are following you and watching and supporting you throughout your whole journey. Yeah, if you look at that camera, leave a nice message to them. You can,
This one here.
Yeah. If you can leave a message for all your followers who have got you where you are today and the support they've given you throughout the time. Let's try, if you can make it in your own fashion, in your stylish way, or your very bespoke, very emotional, whatever, I would love to see that.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for my followers, the true fans and the true supporters, and what's so lovely about you is that I know for some of you and maybe for a lot of you, because I receive your messages in my DMs and you tell me that you've literally been on this social media journey with me since the very beginning, all the way back before I'd even joined TikTok, even before things started going well on Instagram, when I just was on, YouTube, putting videos on YouTube. Some of you have been watching me since then, so literally have been on this entire journey with me. You are the reason that I make the content, because obviously, it's my job as a full-time content creator, and this is how I'm making my living. But, I want to make you proud. I always think about you when I'm designing these videos and hoping that you will see it and that you'll appreciate it and that you'll love it. And that really, really is what inspires me and motivates me to just continue doing this. And I will stop one day, but I'm certainly not going to stop anytime soon. So lots more exciting content on the way. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. That was a lovely message. So there you have it, guys. If you liked what you saw, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and push the bell notification so you don't miss a single episode. Peace, love, and thank you.